Week 3 of the 2021-22 NBA season is over, which means it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back, NBA Week in Review.
The voice of the fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass, right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's is money. You can cash it. For news on LA hoops, come over to Beach Basket. Up-to-date sports, post-game reports, debates and play-by-play coming straight off the court. The voice of the fan making noise, causing havoc. Zone a man up, you can ask Peach Basket. The Peach Basket, coming soon on air. The Peach Basket, where the news begins. We're dropping news like we're in the stands. Creative views from the avid fans.
This is the show where we recap the week that was, then crisscross the country to take a deep dive into that week for select teams from our fan experts. We are the Peach Basket, voice of the fan and home of fan experts. We exist to amplify the voice of passionate basketball fans worldwide. Tonight, we will get updates from Derek Lavelle, who's going to update us on the Los Angeles Lakers, Rene Rocha, San Antonio Spurs, Andrew Marasigan, Charlotte Hornets, and Brandon Nguyen. He's going to update us on the Washington Wizards. I do have to call out that Noah Goitkin was supposed to join us to cover the Chicago Bulls, but unfortunately he was involved in an automobile accident. He's okay, but obviously he's not going to be able to join us tonight. So we are thinking about you, Noah, and hope that you really are good and that you stay that way. Before those updates, crisscrossing the country to get updates from those fan experts, we're going to do a rapid NBA recap for week 3. On Saturday, October 30th, there were 11 games highlighted by the Washington Wizards win over the Boston Celtics in double overtime. On Sunday, October 31st, Halloween, there were 5 games. The showcase game that day was the flying under the radar Utah Jazz facing the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks, with the Jazz earning the W. Monday, November 1st, there were 9 games. Eastern Conference powerhouse teams, the Chicago Bulls, played and beat the Boston Celtics. Tuesday, November 2nd, there were 5 games. The Miami Heat beat the floundering Dallas Mavericks. On Wednesday, November 3rd, 11 games. The surging, but should have been bad, Philadelphia 76ers, considering all the drama surrounding them, beat the powerful Chicago Bulls. Thursday, November 4th, there were 5 games. The Boston Celtics had a must-win win against the Miami Heat. We do have to mention that was also the day the ESPN article dropped, detailing some pretty horrific events out of the Phoenix Suns front office. That is all we will say about that on tonight's show. Finally, on November 5th, there were 9 games. The New York Knicks beat the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. That was the rapid NBA recap for week 3. Now it's time to crisscross the country to get updates from our fan experts. We start by dropping the pin in Los Angeles to get an update from Derek Lavelle on the Los Angeles Lakers.
So in week 3 was, started off with pretty good. We went 2-1 this week. Obviously, unfortunately, I think everyone's highlighting the one loss, the 19-point blown lead against OKC, which is the most recent game, unfortunately. But honestly, Jose, that's not my biggest concern for this team. My biggest concern is something's brewing. And let me tell you something. So LeBron has only missed 3 games so far this season. He played 9. He's missed 3. Russell Westbrook's stats without LeBron in the lineup, he's averaging 26 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 46% shooting from the field, and 33% shooting from 3. And you're thinking, that's Russell Westbrook's stat. But the 6 games that him and LeBron have been playing together, Westbrook has been averaging 17 points per game, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, on 42% shooting from the field, and 29% shooting from 3. Now, once again, Jose, as you know, it's a small sample size, But this is something I'm keeping my eye on, that are they having problems coexisting? Because we've seen with LeBron, not as a negative, but when superstars play with LeBron, it's not LeBron having to adjust, it's the superstar adjusting to LeBron. And so
Right.
I'm very interested to see how Russell Westbrook and LeBron are able to coexist, because we can see when what Russ is being able to be on his own without LeBron, he's back to being the Russell Westbrook that we all know.
That's interesting. That's actually fascinating. I made a comment on Twitter not too long ago that when Russell Westbrook was brought in, it was in part because the Lakers needed somebody to be that alpha when LeBron was out. Last season, for sure, the Lakers had a problem when LeBron would take extended rests on the bench or was out due to injury. There was no playmaker. Caruso did the best he could. Rondo was good, but certainly there was nobody like LeBron, and there's nobody like LeBron. But they needed to come closer, and so the thought was that Russell Westbrook would be that guy. And based on the numbers you just communicated, he is being that guy. But with my eyeballs, when I look at it, I'm really seeing Carmelo Anthony stepping up and being that guy. He's the guy I want taking the last shot. He's the guy I wanted taking the last shot against the Thunder. But it hasn't been Russell Westbrook, or at least not seemingly so. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. I think, once again, their styles, Westbrook styles, LeBron styles, it's like Westbrook's the 6'3" version of LeBron, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I think their styles are. That's where I see the clashing, and that's why I'm keeping my eye on it, because without LeBron in the lineup, I thought the whole point of Westbrook for the trade for him was so that, look, like LeBron has missed already 3 games so far. He's missing tonight's game. It looks like with this abdominal injury, he's going to miss this whole week. So I think once again, if we did the whole, hey, if this was a playoff game, would LeBron play? Of course he would. But this is the whole point I thought of bringing Westbrook, was that LeBron can say, hey, I can play 65, 70 games, and I could be more fresh for when the games really matter in May and June. And I thought that was the whole point. But once again, Melo today, his style of play, catch and shoot, throw the ball to him on the block, isolation, that fits more with LeBron,
right?
Especially with Melo's ability to be better with catch and shoot. That's where you're seeing, wow, Melo scored 25 off the bench, or he scored 28 off the bench, or he scored 19 off the bench, because you're seeing that he fits so much better with LeBron in this phase of his career, because he's improved so much as a catch and shoot 3-point shooter.
Right. Yeah, and while we're talking LeBron, or pardon me, Carmelo, I got to call out that one of our other fan experts who's not here with us tonight tweeted, or actually it was a TikTok, just talking about how Melo is on track to have the most 3-pointers for an LA Laker. I know, again, like you mentioned, Derek, it's an early sample set, but he's on track and he's shooting lights out. He's been amazing. Great call out regarding the stats for Westbrook with and without LeBron. I think them integrating was always the concern this season. And that is certainly something we'll keep our eyes on as we follow the Lakers this season. Derek, I appreciate your time. I know that you are pressed for time. If you got to go, just let us know. Obviously we'll understand. But appreciate your time. Thank you. We're going to drop the pin now in Texas, I believe, and we're going to bring in Rene. So let me go ahead and bring in Mr. Rocha, which I will pronounce correctly now. Rene, apologies for butchering it. I've known you now for, I don't know, several months, maybe a year, and I been mispronouncing your name all that time. I apologize. Rene Rocha, tell us how the Spurs did this week.
I think I was so nervous I never realized that you were mispronouncing it. But I didn't even realize till last night. Good evening, Jose. Good evening, all. The Spurs were 1-2 this past week. Again, it's the more of the same for them. They were blown out by the Pacers on Monday. They lost by 1 to the Mavericks on Wednesday. Had a chance to win that late, botched an inbounds play. What are you going to do? Last night they took care of the Orlando Magic, blowing them away for the second time this season. If they had the Orlando Magic in their division, we're looking at playoff Spurs. That doesn't work out this way. So, I have to take any positive I can right now. So, they did beat the Bucks last Saturday, however. That was important. Concerns with the team, I'm not really worried too much about it. It's just, the rebuild is on. We say that. I'm sure I'm going to say this every single week. And as a team, the only thing I can hope for is that they string together a few wins here and there. I'm thinking after the All-Star break, if they can win 3 games in a row, a few streaks like that, they can ruin somebody's season or, be a monkey wrench in somebody's seeding plans. If they get a sniff of the play-in, I'll be very pleased. That's a team expectation. Every game I look at different players. I want to see them develop. I want to see them come together as the team, as players. Right now, Kelvin Johnson last night played very well. That was the Kelvin Johnson that I think all Spurs fans want to see. The guy that just puts his head down and goes straight to the basket, just relentless and all action all the time. Very high motor that Kelvin plays with. He'd been having issues shooting mid-range jumpers. His three-pointer was a little sketchy earlier. But last night he was driving the lane and scoring some points. DeJounte Murray is a big factor right now, and he is really turning the corner. He is on the outskirts, Jose, of all-star town. He's not there. He's not. I wouldn't put him in there because there's so many point guards, obviously in the Western Conference. But he is getting close. The numbers are there, and he is definitely becoming the solid team leader. The other player I would watch is Devin Vassell. If you ever watch San Antonio Spurs, watch for him. Very wiry player. Reminds me of Reggie Miller. But he's starting to shoot that three. He's starting to look really comfortable, and that's basically it. It's a rebuild. I don't feel the pressure that say Lakers fans do because they're looking at what might happen to their title hopes. Well, we're just trying to figure out where the team is going, so it's not really a lot of pressure. Some fans are feeling the pressure and getting, really edgy about it, but they're young. No offense to young people, but the fact is they've never seen this in their entire lives, right, as far as the Spurs are concerned. So
it's the curse of being a Spurs fan, right? You are used to just quality playoffs, great teams. What's interesting to me for the Spurs, this is the first time I've seen them, as far as I can remember, rebuild, certainly under Pop. And they're doing it in a way to where this team still scares me. You play other teams that are rebuilding and they're young and they're figuring it out. But you could just see Pop. This team is still solid. This team will still beat you. They just play the same way all the time. And it's fascinating to me to see that the same mentality is there, whether you've got a LaMarcus Aldridge in his prime, DeMar DeRozan in his prime, or a bunch of young kids. They're still the Spurs. They're still going to grind, and they're still going to beat you if you don't watch out. So I know it's rebuilding season for the Spurs, but I think if I'm a fan, I'm still enjoying the type of basketball they're playing. So, I agree with you. I think, the play-in would be great for them. But they've got some really good young talent, and it's fun to watch them through this rebuild. Rene, is always a great recap. Thank you. We're going to move Rene now, and we're going to jump over to Charlotte. And I do have to say, Andrew's going to give us the Charlotte update. Bring in Andrew right now. but Andrew is not in Charlotte. Derek is not in Los Angeles. And that's what's great about the NBA. It's international. We've got Boston Celtic fans all over the country, all over the world. We've got Hornet fans all over the country, all over the world. That being said, wait, I forgot to drop the pin. In or around Charlotte. Andrew, thank you for joining us. How did the Hornets, who had some pretty high expectations this season, how they do in week 3?
Yeah, pretty high expectations actually. Over the past week, the Hornets went 1-3. I think they won over Portland, and they had like a 3-game losing streak. Yeah, I believe they even should have gone 3-1 for the week, but we lost pretty bad games to Cleveland and Sacramento last night, which was pretty horrible. We gave up at least like 140 points, which is one of the issues I've seen over the last season. Actually, is their defense, especially like their front court defense. I know that they traded, yeah, we traded Cody Zeller. Now we brought in some Mason Plumlee dude who doesn't even know how to shoot free throws, but you know, it's okay. I guess that one of the concerns I had for this team is it's pretty weird for us not playing PG Washington a lot more than what we had last season, which I know is like I know like Miles Bridges is playing incredible. I guess that's part of the reason why PG Washington hasn't playing a lot this season, but it's something that Coach Borrego is trying to figure out because like last season it was really a surprise for the Hornets making into like at the point top 4 in the Eastern Conference, but right now with all the pieces that the Hornets have, like Kelly Oubre, you have a lot of like wings right now, and like a set core that they have this season. It's a big challenge trying to find the good rotation that can be consistent for the whole season. So some positives for the week, I would say it's the play of Miles Bridges, who I believe is in running for most improved player of the year. Past
Yeah.
During the offseason, I think he denied like a contract extension with the Hornets, which I really think he good for him. So it's gonna be really interesting to how the Hornets would prioritize his contract extension for the upcoming offseason. Some negatives for the week, I believe, is the play of Terry Rozier, which I believe like it's pretty early in the season, which I think he's gonna get it going. I think last season he scored at least like 20 points per game, but now he's up to 11 right now. But I think it's just early in the season. Some adjustments have to be made, but nothing too scary to think about. Knowing that we're early in the season and
Right.
it's a young team, so pretty positive.
It's a good place to be. I think if you're a Charlotte Hornets fan, you're watching the team with a lot of excitement. They're fun to watch. They're they play an exciting brand of basketball. They've got phenomenal young players. What's going to be interesting now for I think for NBA fans in general is what is Charlotte going to do with them? Are they going to build around LaMelo Ball? Are they going to build around Bridges? Are they going to bring in players? Can you attract people, free agents, to Charlotte? I don't know. Obviously, the lure of playing kind of under the eye of Michael Jordan is pretty valuable. But how they're going to build this team is going to be pretty fascinating because obviously they've got the pieces. They're pretty good. And we've seen flashes of that, I think, this season. Andrew, appreciate the time. Thank you. Great update on the Hornets.
Yeah, I just want to add.
Please.
I just wanted. I kind of saw this in like memes and all of that. It's called like the Kelly Oubre curse. I don't know if that's true, but since like Kelly Oubre is in the Hornets, so it's something I saw. I found a bit funny.
I like Kelly Oubre. I think he's a solid player. He had he wasn't great in Golden State, but he was okay. He's not going to be great anywhere, but I think he's a solid piece.
Yeah.
I think you guys are going to be able to survive the Kelly Oubre curse. Well, thanks for bringing that up. If we don't add that in after we edit this video, I will fire myself. Andrew, I appreciate the time. Hang tight. We'll be right back for the question of the day, but we've got one more update. We're going to, oops, I messed up the order, but that's okay. We'll take Andrew out and we'll bring in Brandon Nguyen. Brandon is joining us just pretty recently, but has been writing some phenomenal recaps on the very exciting Washington Wizards. I want to call this out as I drop the pin in DC, that the Wizards last season, Brandon, had two all-star caliber players, right? And Russell Westbrook and Beal. They got rid of one for a bunch of not alpha players, but beta players. And that meshed really well in Washington. The guys like Montrez are playing amazing. Kyle Kuzma's playing amazing. I think the Washington Wizards are kind of showing the Portland Trailblazers what their next step might need to be. Because they had two really great players. They got rid of one to get a bunch of really good players, and it's working in Washington. How was their week, Brandon?
Their week, it wasn't the same hot start that the team had to begin the season. They went 2-2 with one of those wins, the double overtime win against Boston. That win was on my birthday, which was awesome.
Outstanding.
I remember the last time the Wizards played on my birthday. It was 2 years ago. We played Houston in our home opener. I attended that game, and that was the game where we gave up 159 points to Houston in a loss.
Wow.
So I'm happy we were able to get a win this time around on my birthday. But we went 2-2 this week. We dropped back-to-back games against Atlanta and Toronto. We didn't necessarily play terrible in those games. We just could not find the touch from beyond the arc. But against Memphis last night, they found their shot from the 3-point line. And they were able to hold Memphis to, I think it was sub 40% shooting from the field. And as of right now, the team is 4-1 at home. When it comes to any concerns I have about the team, they're playing so well right now. I don't really have a concern. Like if I had to nitpick, the one concern I do have is Bradley Beal's 3-point shooting, because if we remember the scouting report on Beal when he entered the draft, he was known as a knockdown shooter. He was being compared to guys like a Ray Allen.
Sure.
But on the season, I don't know if it's the new ball or it's just the early season slump, but he's only shooting, I think it's somewhere between 22 and 25% from three, which is a drop off from the type of shooter he is capable of being. And it's not just this year, but over the past couple seasons, as he has improved his all-around game, his 3-point shooting has slowly declined to the point now where he's not a terrible 3-point shooter, but I feel like he's going more on the reputation he had as a shooter going into the NBA versus how he is now. But his all-around game has improved tremendously. His defense has been great. He's facilitating the offense really well, and he's still giving you 24 points a game. So I have no complaints. The Wizards are winning. The fans are excited.
Nice.
No concern for me in terms of the team as a whole. And with team news, I think Rui Hachimura, he's close to coming back. There's not a set timetable, but I think that the report is that he's expected to return sooner rather than later.
Nice. I'm glad you brought in the ball. We wrote an article about that. Not only is Bradley Beal shooting poorly, Dame Lillard and others are shooting well below their their career stats, but then you look at a player like Carmelo Anthony, who's doing better. It's really fascinating to me, but that really does go to show you how something as minuscule as the touch of a ball is gonna matter, and especially to these guys that make their living off of that. I think the Wizards have kind of shown the NBA how to take that next step. Certainly shown, I think, the Portland Trailblazers, to get back to that, how to take the next step. They're looking really good. I think they're fun. I can't wait to watch them play. I haven't seen them yet, but keeping up with them through your writing and through the box scores has been a blast. And I'm excited for Washington fans, and excited to hear that you got payback for a bad birthday with a good birthday Wizards win this year.
Yeah, for sure.
So I appreciate that, Brandon. Great recap. We're going to close out tonight's show like we close them all out by bringing in our entire team and asking a question of the day. Now, I'm going to ask all you watching to cross your fingers on this because we've been having some technical difficulties. I hope as I bring in everybody that everything goes okay. We're going to hope for the best. We're leaving Brandon here. We'll bring in Derek. That looked to be okay. We'll bring in Rene. So far, so good. And Andrew. If it doesn't work, it's Andrew's fault. No, all right, it all worked. Outstanding. So I think we're good. So let's talk a little bit about the question we chose today and why we chose it. Last week, or actually in week 2, Carmelo Anthony surpassed the great Moses Malone to reach 9th place all-time in NBA scoring. In week 3, Derrick Rose scored his 12,000th point, pretty significant milestone for him. And also in week 3, Chris Paul, who incidentally, Nate Malone, who's not with us, another one of our fan experts, who wrote a great retrospective on CP3's career. I'll make sure to link it below. He surpassed Steve Nash, 3rd place all time in assists, which got me to thinking, which of today's young all-stars or star is most likely to pass either Carmelo for points or CP3 for assists? For purposes of the question, I threw in some likely stars. I got Luka here, I got Shea, I got Ice Trey, but the answers don't have to be limited just to those stars. What we're asking, though, is a young player, 5 years or younger, in the NBA, who you think is most likely to reach the upper echelon of scoring or assists, if anybody. I mean, it's okay to say, nobody in this young core is going to do it. Now, in order to give everybody an opportunity, and you feel free to pass if you have no opinion, I'm going to kind of go in order. I know otherwise it's kind of hard, and we all end up talking over each other. But Brandon, you are kind of first in line. So do you have any thoughts here? Who would you pick as a young star who's likely to match Melo or CP3?
To match Melo, I will go with Jason Tatum. Just because as a scorer, he can score from outside, from mid range, and from the paint, and just how effortless he gets his shot off at I think he's 6'8", 6'8", 6'9", and with how high he shoots the ball, and how effortless he plays. I think he is the most likely young star to pass Melo in scoring. In terms of passing CP3 in assists, I'm gonna go with LaMelo Ball. I think he can do it because of the creativity he plays with, and he's a big point guard. He's
Right.
who plays fast. He plays up and down, and that's gonna help him look over the defense and pick up a lot of those transition assists.
I want to argue with your choices, but I can't. So I think those are great picks. I honestly forgot about Tatum. Derek, what do you think? Do you agree with Brandon? You got anybody else?
So I think Luka is probably going to be the easy choice. So I'm going to go off the board. So for points, I'm going to go Donovan Mitchell. I think he's on a team where he's the main guy. He's been averaging at least 20 points every single year of his career, and improved his scoring average every single year of his career thus far. And being the only main scoring option on a Utah team, I just feel like that's what Melo did. Melo was the main option in both Denver and New York, and he was able to accumulate all those points because he was obviously a great one-on-one scorer, but also because he was the number one option. He was the only guy that they could rely on to create his own shot. And as for assists, like I said, Luka, I think, is also another easy choice, but I'm going to go with Trae Young because he feels his game, the way that organization, that team center around him, and his ability to throw lobs to John Collins, to kick it out to Kevin Huerter and Cam Reddish, I just feel like he's going to be able to rack up multiple seasons of double-digit assist years.
Good call out. I love going off the board. This was not meant to be an exhaustive list on the board at all. But you guys are picking out some absolutely great players who, again, very difficult to argue with any of y'all. Rene, what are your thoughts on a young player that's going to reach the upper echelon in scoring and/or assists?
Well, I agree with what Derek said. I think Luka is the obvious choice, so I'm going to try to go a little bit off as well. I'll say John Morant in points for the same reason that Derek is saying. He's going to be the focal point for the Memphis Grizzlies offense for a while. We've seen him fill it up, especially in clutch games. Important games, playoff games. As far as assists go, honestly, I don't think a lot of these younger players will rack up the type of assist that Chris Paul has. The point guard position has changed, and it looks like a lot of these point guards are score first. That's, not to say they're not going to rack up assists. They are, but I don't know if they're going to be, Chris Paul type numbers. So I don't think they're going to get close to CP3, but I'll go with John Morant getting close to Melo.
I like John Morant. That's a great under the radar pick. I wouldn't have had him on the list, but he belongs there. That's absolutely a great pick. And I love your take on assists. The game has changed, and there's no denying that. And I think it's funny that we see guys like LeBron led the league in assists last season, or maybe the season before. I think it was last season, which just goes to show. I think it's more of something that is less of a focus on the younger players. Although I love LaMelo Ball for that. I think that's somebody who understands the game and certainly might get there. But yeah, I think it's going to be harder to reach assists, the pinnacle in assists, easier to reach it in scoring. Brandon, with Brandon, we start with Brandon. Andrew, you're going to finish this off. What are your thoughts? Your guy LaMelo has been brought up a couple times. Who do you think might reach the top in scoring and or assists?
In my list, I had both Jason Tatum and John Morant as people who I believe that has a chance to pass Carmelo in assists. For the reason of the sake that both Carmelo and CP3 have really been consistent in making the playoffs over the course of their careers. So I guess those players that I've chosen are players that I can see can really, be in the playoffs for a couple of years for their careers. In terms of assists, I agree. I think LaMelo Ball has a really good chance. If ever, injuries don't prevent him from, destroying his career, or the Hornets making a really good chance in making the playoffs. But also Trae Young. I think Trae Young's average. I think Trae Young's second in the assist in the league right now. So I think with an Atlanta Hawks team, it's really deep and which can go really far in the playoffs like they did last season. I think he has a really good spot to at least compete with all the great players who are in the top in the assists, like CP3.
Yep. Outstanding. You brought up something, and I think Rene said the same thing regarding LaMelo. He doesn't just make the assist. He makes the assist that just kind of gives you that wow factor. He makes that really nice pass. And I think that's the difference. The league leader in assists, right, is John Stockton, who never, and I won't say never, but rarely made that wow assist. He just made the right play. And, of course, he had a guy like Karl Malone that made it pretty easy to make that play. But I think that's the difference. I think the players today aren't making the easy play. They want to make the wow play as opposed to just the easy handoff. Now, I might now start to sound like an old timer, and I want to be very careful here. But that to me is to kind of get back to Renee's point. One of the reasons why it's going to be tougher to reach the assists pinnacle over scoring. But LaMelo's got a great shot. I think he's again really, really, really solid, and he's going to make that easy play. But he just likes to make the wild pass. Too. Look at these players we called out: Jason Tatum, LaMelo Ball, Luka, Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, John Morant. The NBA is in good shape, no matter how you slice it. Every single time we think, at least certainly I think, that it's going to get tough. The good players are retiring. There's a good group of phenomenal young players, and we didn't even mention the guy I put on the screen, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who just absolutely single-handedly beat the Lakers. Sorry, Derek, just a couple of days ago with that logo 3, which was absolutely mind-boggling. That'll do it. That is our week 3 recap. Week 3 is now in the books. Thank you to all of you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you to these great fan experts for taking their time and providing these amazing recaps. We will be back again next week to run it back.
The voice of the fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's is money. You can cash it. For news on LA hoops, come over to Beach Basket. Up to date sports, post game reports, debates and play by play coming straight off the court. The voice of the fan making noise, causing havoc. Zone a man up, you can ask Peach Basket. The Peach Basket, coming tune on there. The Peach Basket, where the news begins. We're dropping news like we're in the